lot of you guys have to say about boxing in general. This is one of those sports that when I was a kid growing up, we had the Muhammad Ali's, we had the Joe Frazier, we had Leon Spinks, all these great American boxers that were knocking people out. Now we don't have anyone. Anthony Joshua, he's a UK guy, but I do got a special name for you. Joshua Temple. Watch the name. I know the family. He's a kid that's going to be coming up, and he's going to get his title fight. Almost made it to the Olympics. The Olympics has changed over the last decade or two, so you don't see all of the countries in the Olympics in different sports. You have to qualify to get in there. But just a lot of great fights, man. If you saw the fight, I see you there, said you saw the fight this weekend. What a great fight. They battled. This is the way heavyweight fighting is supposed to be. And nothing against the young guys, but so many people have talked about it over the last, decade. Fighting isn't like it used to be. And that's why the MMAs have grown. Being in the octagon has grown. But when you got great fighters like what you saw this past weekend, it was a brawl. Both of them tasted the mat. And it almost looked like Joshua was going to lose the fight in about the eighth to 10th round. And then he got that second win. That heart came in. And that's what they call the heart of a fighter. That's the heart of a champion that gets up off the mat and says, I'm not going to go down anymore. Want to talk about that. Other things we got to talk about. The NFL draft. Okay, Ram fans, if you're looking at me on Instagram, of course, you see my book in front of the mic right now. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. But Ram fans, I need to know your feelings right now. Where do you sit after watching the front office make the picks that they got this past weekend? Are you satisfied with them? Are you excited? Chargers, I'm going to tell you what, you got to be excited. Michael Williams is a beast. He is the Sammy Watkins of this draft. He's the Julio Jones of this draft. The kid is a beast. Not only did he change the national championship game, he made that championship game for Deshaun Watson. Without this guy in that national championship game, I don't think Clemson would have done what they did to Alabama. And with this team going in the direction they're going, with Phillip Rivers and with the way that the running backs and everybody's been playing in San Diego, it brings up that equation. Will the Chargers grab our fan base here in Los Angeles? And I say here in Los Angeles because guys, I'm a diehard Ram fan. I love my Raiders as well. But right now we're talking about the Rams and where the Rams go from now. Raider fans, I got to talk to you about that selection. What do you think? Conley is on the verge of not being able to play football for the rest of his life. Guys, I'm here in Columbus. I'm broadcasting from right here at the Heartbeat. The Raiders took the $1 million chance. They drafted a kid who has an alleged, not just an assault, but they're talking about rape. Was it a risky move on the part of Reggie? Reggie McKenzie, the GM, president of the team. I got to think Reggie knew what he was doing. He's had to have done his homework. Let's hope that all of that homework is right. Because, guys, I'm here. The word on the street here is he didn't do anything. I want to know what the Raiders are talking about. It's just so crazy, and I want to hear what you Raider fans think about the selection. If you're Ram fans, get on the wire with me. Let me know what you're thinking. Going back, talking NBA. I'm an Ohio boy. Y'all know I told you all along I'm a homer. I'm going to cheer for the Cavs. I'm going to cheer for the Buckeyes when they're not playing against Notre Dame. But what do the Cavs fans think of the way they played this first game against Toronto? I have to tell you, I'm going to bring on LaShawn, my son, a little later. I told you, he's a diehard Warrior fan. We're going to debate some of the issues. What makes the Warriors so special? I think that because KD is there, some of the other major role players are they're being overshadowed. They're being pushed to the side. I don't know if that's a good thing or a positive thing for the Warriors right now. Yes, they're scoring 115 points, a game. Okay, the Cavs score in the 115s as well. But it's going to boil down to East versus West. And I think the team that has the healthier players is definitely going to be the better of the two teams. And right now, one twist of a knee, KD's back on the bench, and the worst part is one bump in the knee, Love is back on the bench. So right now, you got to look at the star. Where's the power at? And I got to tell you, watching LeBron play last night, he was on a streak. He was hitting the threes like Curry. I mean, he had a game of the ages last night. I want to talk to you guys about that. And you got to talk about Harden. You know, Harden had a 2014 and 4 a game last night. And, you know, the word's still out. No one knows who's the MVP player. Is he adding to his MVP votes right now? You know, our boys out of the playoff. OKC took an early exit to Houston. And you got to think that Russell's flame is starting to dim because he wasn't able to take him past the first round. There's been a question all season long. What creates or what names the MVP? You tell me what you think makes up this year's MVP. Is it the triple doubles, or is it taking your team that is really not a great team? This is not a really great Houston Rockets team, but James Harden makes them a special team. And because of that special element that he's bringing to the game, is he the MVP this year? So much that we want to talk about. And, you know, we're going to go back to LA. Of course, my son, I told you he likes the Warriors. I'm a homer. So I'm going to cheer for the hometown team, which for me has always been the Lakers. But what do you think about the Clippers? Talk to me. I see you said you give me triple doubles. I don't know if it's the triple doubles, but let's talk about the Clippers right now. You know, me and Doc Rivers came out of high school the same year, saw him along, you know, we did summer camps together. We did just a little bit of everything. So I've known Doc a long time. I think he's a quality coach. He's a coach that can take this team to the promised land like he did the Boston Celtics. But what do you think right now? We got two guys with opt-outs, Blake and CP3. Do you think they're coming back? You know, I hate to say it, but I'm a homer, so I'm going to say maybe this is the time for Magic to go seal the deal and bring CP3 over to the Lakers, because honestly, we can afford to give up a few quality young talent for a superstar. And of course, the word on the street here in Los Angeles is that Paul George coming home. What do you think about that, Laker fans? Is this the guy that will help bring in other quality veterans? Because that's been the whole heartbeat of the Lakers this last 4 or 5 years. They're trying to build through the draft, but unfortunately, you got to bring in some star power. These guys got to learn from somebody. And right now, they're not learning from anybody. You know, we couldn't put it all on our guy, what's his name, Blake from New York, went into the stands. Metta World Peace. We couldn't put it on Metta World. Metta's not a teacher. He's not one of those guys who's going to give the tutelage to one of the young guys. But we got to find a big man. We got to find a quality point guard who can show these young guys how to play the NBA game. Those are all the things that are going to be flying around us today. Ron Artest. I got it. JJ Redick. Are the Clippers going to lose JJ Redick as well? He's a free agent. A lot's going to be going on in the front office. And here's a question that so many people are going to ask. Should Doc be making all the calls? You know, I mean, you're talking about a guy who has built a team in the Boston Celtics. Let's face it, he built it with veterans and with draft picks, something the Clippers have actually done a great job over the last decade. But this Clipper team has been out here for a while. They've been sitting on their you-know-whats, complaining about injuries. And I understand, guys, you know, don't get me wrong here. Blake getting injured at the times he got injured. Last year when CP3 went out, injuries are a part of the game. But in the in the giant scope of everything, you got to plan for that future. You got to plan for that opportunity. And the guys on the bench have got to be prepared to be their role players. So is it time to break this team up and put the, you know, Lob City ordinance, you know, send it to another dimension, another zip code, or start breaking it up, bringing in something that's going to be more of a winning type atmosphere, not just a showboat? And nothing wrong. I like seeing the lob. I like seeing the dunk. But at some point in this equation, this team has got to win a championship, and I don't think it's going to happen right now. Whose fault does that fall on? I mean, there's so much going on in the world of sports. We're going to have fun talking about a lot of it. I want to run to another topic to you, too. Laker fans, are you happy to see Atlanta out of the playoff? And I only say whine. I don't like pointing it out, but, you know, we got Dwight Howard about 4 or 5 years ago. And everybody talked about Dwight Howard being a game changer for us. And he was. He could change games if he had the mentality. His head just wasn't in the right place, I think. But Dwight Howard, everywhere he has gone, from Orlando to the Lakers to the Houston and now to Atlanta, all he's done is whine. And this is a guy who had star quality when he was in Orlando. Now all you see everybody talking about is he's done. He's not a winner. Yeah, I see that. He's not a winner. So many people are complaining that he spends more time whining than he does performing out on the court. You tell me what you think. I mean, when he came to the Lakers, I thought it was a great opportunity to replace Shaq with a younger dominant guy who did the same thing as Shaq, but he had probably one more move than Shaq because he was a lot leaner, quicker. But now, still the probably the hardest thing I got to chew on is that we let Shaq go, and it killed a dynasty. I think they could have won one or two more, but we'll never know. And yes, is Howard the killer? I think Dwight Howard is going to be living by the name of team killer because everywhere he's gone, he stopped the team that was headed towards it, winning playoff games. He shut them down, and all we've gotten out of him is loss, and complain. Paul Pierce, guys. Got to talk about Paul before he goes out. Would have loved to have seen him at least get to the playoff, to the finals, or maybe at least to the Western Conference Championship. But what a class guy. Is he a first-time ballot, guys? Is he a first-time ballot into the Hall of Fame in the NBA in the future? Because he's going to wait his 6 years, and then the Hall of Fame, is it going to come calling for Paul Pierce right off the gate? Now, there's something that I heard that kind of took me off, is that he not only is a high school All-American, he was a college All-American, top 5 guy, and he's been an NBA All-Star. He's probably one of the few guys like a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like it probably would have been Kobe, could have been LeBron, but he's one of those few guys, Oscar Robertson, that at every level he's always been at the top of his game. Paul Pierce is one of those guys, and he's one of those guys to me that deserves a first-time ballot. Soon as the time comes for him to go in, he deserves to go in. Now, before I bring the young one on, and of course, before I even start to promote the book a little bit, because y'all know I wrote this book, Athletic Wisdom for Students. That's why I'm in Columbus. Had a chance to speak to a group today. I'm going to probably be speaking to the old high school possibly by the end of the week. But either way, we're down to that last week's event. And I don't know about you guys, but y'all hear me talk about this a lot of times. The NFL is what the NFL is because of the way they've turned the marketing world upside down. Tell me, was that festivity that you saw in Philadelphia, have you seen anything to match that in any kind of sport? 275, 250,000 people, and some of them were in cold nights in Philly. They stayed there to the wee hours of the morning to enjoy 3 days. I mean, it's a festival. The NFL draft has turned into, our version of the Oscars. It's just a special event that the NFL has taken and turned it into something truly dynamic. What did you think about the city of Philadelphia? Did you love it when Drew Pearson got in front of the camera and told them that I am who I am because of the Philadelphia Eagles? And I guess he was trying to tell them they couldn't cover him. But Drew Pearson had the loudest boos that I had heard on anybody in Philly. I don't think when I played in Philly, I ever heard a crowd that loud booing him. It was even louder than what the boos that Roger Goodell was getting. But it was just hilarious, man. I mean, it was such a show. I want to know what y'all think about that. And then, of course, I want to know what you think about those first two selections. Of course, Myles Garrett, I think that was a prediction pretty easily. Everybody knew that Myles Garrett was going to be the number one pick. But I've talked to a lot of people, and are you really that sold on Mitch Trubisky, the quarterback out of UNC? Do you really give up that many picks for a guy that has not even played 17 college games? That is a question that I want to hear somebody give me a legitimate answer. I hate to say it, but that was a bigger stretch than the Rams giving up what they gave up last year to get Jared Goff. This kid Trubisky might have tools. There's a lot of guys that have tools. When you looked at the draft, they said that DeShone Kizer probably was the most, he probably had, of all the tools in one package, Watson and Kizer probably were the best package going into the draft. And then all of a sudden we started talking about Mitch Trubisky out of UNC. Before the draft, they said that probably none of these quarterbacks would be drafted in the top 20 slots. How did he slide up so high so fast? And it's crazy because I tell people all the time that a lot of these guys that are GMs, they never played the game at a high level. They were, unfortunately, those who coach didn't play well. And those who play well, for some reason, you think they can't coach and they can't manage a team. But they know more about the game than any of these guys in the front office. I think that's why Reggie McKenzie with the Raiders does so well. He's able to find equal chemistries in guys. He's turned this Raider program around in less than 3 years. I mean, this program is clicking in all cylinders. And had David Carr not gone out with the injury last year, the Raiders would have been in the Super Bowl. And a lot of that has to be contributed to Reggie McKenzie in the front office. But Trubisky, is he really worth that kind of money this early? And do you have the tools around him that's going to make a difference? I mean, now, mind you, Houston and Deshaun Watson is a perfect selection for me. They've got a great defense. They've got a good offensive line to protect him. And then he's got tools to work with. Trubisky, I don't know. That's all I can tell you guys. I'm just like saying to myself, why? Why do you go on the limb? Why do you make selections like that? I don't know, but we'll talk about it as we go on later in the show. And last thing I want to talk about, guys, I should say two things I want to talk about. One, of course, is, Larry Bird, one of the greatest players of all time, is the writing on the wall for the Pacers. Larry knows this game, guys, and he's built quality teams for you in the past. I think Larry is stepping down because right now he can't find a way to save Paul George and keep him in that city. And when Paul leaves, I think you're going to see mutiny. I think a lot of their quality players that can opt out are going to. And it becomes like the Lakers. You're going to have a complete rebuilding of an organization. And I think Larry kind of sees the writing on the wall. And, did you see him get in the IndyCar the day after they just lost? He had to go to New York, promote the Indy 500, and the guy was disgusted. And this is just on the cuff of him making the announcement that he was stepping down. I hate to see Larry get out of the game right when Magic is coming into the game. It was a match made in heaven. Remember the commercial they shot back in the 70s, man, for Converse? I was looking to see that kind of just desire between these two ball clubs because of their management. They got such a great chemistry together. I thought when Magic got back into the game, it would just kind of bring a little bit of fire in Larry, and these two teams would eventually find themselves into the playoff championships, just like the Lakers and the Celtics of old. Last thing I want to talk to before we really jump into all the sport topics of this week, what do you think about the Boston fans, guys? I had an opportunity. I was in Detroit before I got down here to Columbus, and talking to some of my friends. We're just talking about some things, just social issues. Why is it this? Why is it that? And then, of course, you see what happened in the racial taunting that happened in Fenway Park. Yeah, you get the Boston Red Sox making a formal apology, but is there any more? Are we that far apart? This is 2017. Do we really have fans that come into the stands and say the negative words and use the N-word and all the other things towards the baseball players? These are the guys you revere. At one point, to be in a baseball uniform meant the world to most people to be in that stadium. And here you go into the city of Boston that has a history, and it has a long history of being, the racial undertone. But you go in here and Adam Jones comes off the field. He gets a bag of peanuts thrown at him. He gets cursed at, yelled at, called the N-word, a little bit of everything. Are we really that far apart, guys? Are we that far apart as people that we can't, we can't even enjoy our pastimes anymore without making it a racial issue. I want to talk about a lot of those things, man. But right now I'm gonna bring on he's not little me because he's actually taller than me, not bigger than me because of course I've got the 50 plus years worth of food and eating. But I got my son. He came out here to Columbus with me. I'm gonna bring him on. We're gonna definitely kind of get started. Introduce him. Come on in here a little bit earlier. Come on, get into the
How's
camera.
How's it going, everybody? My name's LaShawn Bell, Greg Bell's son. Just wanted to give my knowledge on everybody in the younger years and
have a little fun.
Yeah.
We're here in Columbus. Like I told everybody, I came out here to Columbus to talk about our book that I just finished this past year. It's called Athletic Wisdom for Students. Had a chance to talk to a group of students today. Guys, if you haven't gotten a copy of it, go to athletesforlife.org. That's www.athletesforlife.org. Get there, click on the book, and it'll take you there. Get you a copy of it. I'll personally sign the books and get them out to you as soon as possible. But we had a good time, a great opportunity to speak to kids today, and I shouldn't call them kids, to young adults today. And that's what brought us to Columbus. And I just figured, since I got my son here, former athlete himself, first question I'm going to ask him, of course, is why the love of Golden State? I mean, what is it about this young culture that you guys love Golden State? Because it seems like everybody under the age of 30 is in love with Golden State.
I'd more say that the wins is what is bringing the joy to the fans. Me as a personal fan, Steph Curry is a big joy. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, the big three, really. I don't want to talk about KD yet, just because he's a newcomer to the Warriors, but they're a team, They play as a team, and they all support and love each other and the game. And they're not playing to I don't know how to say this. They're not playing to try and better the NBA, but they're trying to show you how a team works and how to.
Okay, so I get that, but let's talk about this teamwork here, because the percentages are down for not only for Curry's percentages are down from the 3-point, but the team as a whole, they're not hitting at the percentage that they have in the past since KD did come to this team. When you get a player like KD, and I've heard Draymond Green say he prepares for every game like KD is not there because it's a whole different mentality. Mm-hmm. But bringing KD into this team, did it help the team or did it hurt the team?
In my personal, I'd say it hurt the team. They don't need Kevin Durant. Now, he's definitely an addition to the team whenever someone steps out into the bench and he can fulfill their needs or fulfill that spot. But they do not need Kevin Durant because they have been to the championship twice in the past 2 years without him and defeated him. So why not just add him onto the team and get another ring?
Hey, guys, if you're just joining in, I'm Greg Bell. This is my son, LaShawn Bell. You're listening to the Legends Community Show here on thepowerofvoices.com. We're here every week, hour full of sports talk. We've got a lot of things we threw out there this week. One of the things I want to throw by you, because you're this new, I guess it's considered the Y generation, right? The X, Y, Z, whatever. They're millennials. Are you a big boxing fan?
No.
Isn't that amazing, guys? That was the answer I expected to hear. Boxing has lost its luster, but did you watch the championship this past weekend?
I did not.
Did not.
Because I didn't even know it was on. I'm not gonna lie. That's how much
the boxing has. Yeah, and see, that's the most amazing thing for me is, this kid Anthony Joshua is actually a stud. He gets into the ring with Klink, which he's got to be one of the biggest boxers I think I've ever seen. I think he stands about 6'7", about 255, 260 pounds. And Joshua is probably standing about 6'5", about 240, 245. But you saw some of the excerpts from the fight.
Yes, I did see the highlights.
That's what fighting was really about.
Yeah.
Mano a mano, punch for punch. And you saw what power is.
Yes.
And I think these are the kind of guys that'll bring back boxing. We kind of lost the shine when, guys like Oscar De La Hoya or, of course, Money Mayweather got involved. But
Pacquiao.
yeah, these little guys.
All of them are such little in speed that they don't have the power to knock someone out in one punch, or even daze them like such as a Joshua did, or in the past Ali, Tyson, any of them. None of these little guys can compare to them. Now I don't want to dishonor them. They can fight. They can put up their hands against anyone, and I don't want to, but I'd say that this era is more into the MMA and looking forward to ultimate fighting more than just putting your hands up. They'd like to see what you can do. See what all you can do.
With all you can do. And I know you do follow MMA.
Yeah, I do follow
and that's the most amazing thing.
Conor McGregor, he's a big time. And tell me what you guys think. What do you guys think of Conor McGregor? Is he the number one fighter right now, or is he not?
Well, here's the thing. When we talk about the fighters of old, guys like Ali, they amassed the records that look like Money Mayweather. They weren't guys that got knocked around, got knocked out, especially in their 20s. Yeah. Guys like Ali, Joe Frazier, Sugar Ray Leonard, Joe Louis. These guys amassed 30, 40 wins without ever touching the mat. Yeah. Conor McGregor is going to touch the mat every single fight. Either he's putting himself on the mat as a defensive move, or he's taking a guy down to the mat, and sometimes he just actually gets knocked out. And so, I think the Conor McGregor and Money Mayweather fight is going to bring a lot of people into the era, but nothing like, when Ali walked into a ring, this young man, Joshua, when he walks into the ring and fights against a great American fighter, which, trust me, guys, Joshua Temple, remember that name. I'm going to pub him. He's kind of like family. But Joshua's going to be a number one contender within the next 2 years. He's one of those guys who's got the size, who's got the speed, and got the tools. They're going to see heavyweight boxing come back. I think this is just a sign of the times, not that it's going to overshadow MMA like MMA has kind of taken over the charge for your young millennials today. But you're going to see great heavyweight fighters coming up in the future, and nothing against the young guys, the smaller guys, but man, there's nothing like seeing a heavyweight punch with quickness, with precision. And this young kid, Anthony Joshua, laid it on Klinkos. I mean, he hit the turf on numerous occasions. The ropes were helping him most of the fight. He was dazed and fighting. He was fighting with a daze from about the 6th round on. And he showed why he was the heavyweight champion of the world. That's the heart of a fighter. Even though he knows he's on that last punch, he's going to fight till the very end. And thank God that the referee stopped it in, because about round 12 would not have started. That's all I can say. I think he would have been knocked out in the 11th round, and things would have went in a different direction. Now, changing sports, I should say. Let's talk about the draft. Did you watch any of the NFL draft this past week?
I did. I got to watch the entire draft.
Okay, so this is the fun thing with me and him, because he don't cheer for the Rams, Raiders, or the Chargers.
Atlanta Falcons.
He likes the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, so we butt heads about this all the time. What is it about today's game that kind of differs in your mind from the game when you see the old highlight films that you've seen from me?
The biggest thing for me is defense. The defenses nowadays are a lot more soft, not as big guys, a lot more fast.
Cover guys.
Yeah, cover guys. The secondary specifically, they have lost their touch. I admit it. They have lost their touch to be able to put their hands on a wide receiver and cover them one-on-one. The D linemen, I can't talk about, because they've stayed the same. They're always going to be big, always going to be powerful, always going to be a little bit quick. But in the draft, I think is Myles Garrett. Right?
Myles Garrett.
He's good, and I can't wait to see what he brings to the team.
Well, Cleveland took another risk, like always. but this is a risk I think they can afford to take. Myles Garrett was probably the top athlete in the draft, not just as a defensive end. This guy could play the tackle position as well as a stand-up outside linebacker. So for the first time, probably I would say in a decade, I'm gonna agree with Cleveland's pick. They could have traded down, probably found themselves with a couple more picks. Could have tried to get Trubisky. Thank God they didn't. We've had our years. I mean, I'm a homer. Cleveland was a team as a kid growing up that I cheered for. They made the right move this time more than ever by letting that draft pick and, not necessarily going for what they thought they needed, but going for what was the best on the board. Myles Garrett definitely to me was the number one pick of the draft. I think he's an instant impact guy. Probably the biggest thing I think I see in most teams, not necessarily that their cover guys can't put their hands on it. The league is kind of taking that joy away from it. But I think a lot of the cover corners aren't the hitters like from the days that I remember. Going across the middle meant you had to put heart in. You had to be a guy like we were talking earlier today, Roddy White. Roddy White was one of those kind of guys for the Falcons who could go across the middle and do some damage. But now you don't see guys going across the middle the way they used to. And unfortunately, it takes a little bit away from the game. It adds safety to the game. But at the same time, it takes away that special element of highlight films. Not only did Billy White Shoes go across the middle, but he made a lot of people miss. And it was a highlight film. And of course, if you came across the middle and the guy's name was Jack Tatum, you took a hit. Sure. And the game is changing, man. It really is changing. Now, probably my biggest negative is, how did you become a Warrior fan in the land of LA?
See, growing up in Los Angeles, everyone was a Los Angeles fan. So me being me, and from you, I'd like to be different. So the opposite of Los Angeles is
Golden State,
Golden
huh?
State. And so that's
I tell you what, that's the hardest thing of anything. I'm always going to be a true diehard Laker fan. You know what? I like great owners. Dr. Buss was always one of my favorite owners, so that's kind of why I stuck with the Lakers, and I'm going to stick with them even more now because Magic's one of the guys. But let me ask you this question. Is it triple doubles or is it the improvement of the team that wins the MVP for you?
MVP is a player, not a team. If it was most valuable team,
but wait a minute. I understand that, but think about this. A most valuable player lifts the team.
True. And did he not lift the team to what he can do by himself? He does not have the team to support him, correct? He has himself to where he has triple doubles.
But Harden's got a lot of triple doubles as well. I mean, we can't just say it's strictly what he did individually because Harden's not that far behind. So you got to look at some of the other elements that come into the game as well.
True. Now we'll look at who is it? Trevor Ariza. He had a 29-point game last game, and looking at Russell, if I was to pull up the game from his last game, I couldn't tell you a second teammate that did that. I put up 20 points for,
and everybody's giving me these. I'm looking here and everybody's saying triple doubles. Come on now. Triple doubles do lift the team, but they don't win basketball games. That's my whole thing is sometimes an MVP player does more than just score a lot of points, have a lot of assists. I mean, if that was the whole fact, then, every player would probably go out trying to do triple doubles, but most players are going out to win football games. So
I think that's the difference in Russ. I think he's gotten to the mentality of, I kind of just got to put on for myself now, and the team's going to follow me.
Yeah, I think he keeps the mentality. I think if you saw the interview at the end of the year, he continued to make sure that one thing was very prevalent, that this was a team sport. So if the team didn't play well, that meant he didn't play well. Sure. Regardless of his triple doubles, he said, we go down together. And I think that's one of the things I really like about Russell Westbrook. You see so many players set back and they'll take the applause and they'll take the criticism to some extent when they know they've had a bad game. But this guy has continued to say this is a team. we're playing and we're losing and we're winning as a team. And, hats off to Russell Westbrook for that.
Yeah.
What do you think? Did you get a chance to watch any of the Spurs game?
I didn't, but
What is you missed the good games watching blowout games like what the Warriors had. I mean, guys, if y'all didn't see it, James Harden had a 20-14-4 night. He took on the Spurs along with Trevor Ariza, along with the entire Rockets, and they did something that has not been done in decades. Ever. They beat the Spurs by over 30 points.
At home.
They beat them by 27, but they were up by 30 points at halftime. What do you think was going through the Spurs player? And it's kind of funny because, let's face it, the Spurs coach will always downplay any avenue of curiosity. And he walked in and, he just said, hey, we played a bad game. That's it, one game. Do you think the Spurs are going to be able to bring back that magic that, they've had over 2 decades now, but without David Robinson, without Tim Duncan? Are they going to be able to bring that Spurs kind of winning mentality back, even when they rest so many players?
Definitely. They have Kawhi Leonard, which is I would put him in the MVP running. Maybe his stats, but his team play, like we were saying, team play is there. He's one great defender. Is Mano still on the team?
Yeah, Mano's still there.
Mano is a heck of a point guard or shooting guard. They're a team, and that's what I look for. And that's why I think they've still been running for decades, is they know how to play as a team. And they have players, but they play as a team, and they always care about the team. And that's what matters. The team is going to win, not a player.
Well, of course, we talked about it a little earlier as well. If you didn't happen to catch last weekend's, guys, what do you think about the growth of the National Football League? Because you, believe it or not, I mean, he was raised in the National Football League. I mean, he saw it from probably the finest of elements because he was the son of a player. And so we kind of indoctrinated him. Me and my buddy Larry, we kind of took our sons everywhere we could take them around the game. Have you ever seen anything like they showed in Philadelphia and what they did in Chicago a year ago?
Never. Blown away with the fans in Philadelphia. You guys are true fans, and you guys love the city. You guys love the sport, and I applaud you guys all, every single one of you fans. I would say that the sport itself has lost a bit, but gained. When I say lost a bit of their touch when it comes to the safety. Myself, growing up, like he said, with the older football, the safety wasn't really an issue. So growing up now and watching the game, safety is the biggest issue, and being able to have your head on is the biggest thing. When I see the NFL now, I think about whether or not that they're going to still be able to allow it to go on with the way that the defenses and the way that they're hitting. I don't think that the game will be played the same.
Well, I think they're going to try and do as much as possible to bring most of the safety elements into the game that they can. I think the hardest part about the game is that it's played at 100 miles an hour with reckless and abandon. That's something that the NFL has done for, almost, going in. We're probably about 20 years shy. Where we at? I think this was Super Bowl 50. I think we're almost coming up on 100 years of National Football League play. And we're at a point now where safety has become a major issue. So many people have dealt with concussions and CTE that is being found every day. I mean, I think I read something this past week that even Aaron Hernandez's family is donating his brain because they think he was suffering from CTE, and I think he only played 2 years in the National Football League. So it's one of those things that I understand that's going to be something that many people are going to look at. But the game is what it is. It has so many life skills to teach people, and maybe, they make it a little safer. but it's still going to be NFL football. Hey, guys, this is the Legends Community Show here on the Power of Voices. I'm Greg Bell.
LaShawn
I
Bell.
brought LaShawn with me today because we're on the road in Columbus, Ohio. Had an opportunity to speak to some guys here in Columbus, so we're Skyping everybody. We're coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio. If you're on Instagram, you see the copy of the book. If you're not, I'm going to hold it up here. It's Athletic Wisdom for Students. It's a book that I put together over the 27 years of foundation work that we've been doing here in California and Ohio, all around the United States. I think it's a very good book. We've gotten a lot of great reviews. If you want to get a copy, go to www.athletesforlife.org.
.org.
Don't put .com. Get that .org in there. Get yourself a copy. A lot going on in the world here. Sports has been on everybody's mind with all the craziness that's going on. Our hearts also go out one last time, just so y'all guys know. We got some things in the works. One of our young men from the program also was a student at North Park, and we're going to try and put something together with him. He's a National Football League player, kind of keeping it under the down low, but he's going to be doing something special for his old elementary. We're trying to get those dates set up right now. Okay, so we got the Cavs. We've got the Warriors. We're looking at Toronto. We've got Utah playing well. The Wizards are playing well. Give me your pick for the NBA Finals this year.
Warriors and the Wizards.
What is it with these young minds? Now tell me why you would pick the Wizards over the Cavs. I mean, just being honest. You tell me the honesty behind that selection.
I want to see somebody new from the East. That's my personal.
Well, why wouldn't you want to see someone new from the West?
Because
they've been there for the last three.
I'm a Warriors fan, so I obviously want to see them. But now, if I wanted to be stats, not just my opinion, the Cavaliers will probably end up in the championship versus either the Spurs or the Warriors. But you just got to just put aside the fact that LeBron has been leading them there, and you got to look at the team. Is Kevin Love going to be able to support? Is Kyrie going to be able to do it one more year? Is he going to be able to hit that 3-point shot again, or is he going to get stopped?
Well, as a Warrior fan, where are you at today worrying about the coach? Because let's face it, Steve Kerr, I know what he's going through, guys. I've had one major surgery on my back. That was my reason for retiring from the National Football League. Steve has actually had, I think, a couple of surgeries on his back. And, even though they're still productive, to lose your leader without a known backup. Actually, I'm not going to take away anything from Mike Brown because Mike's a quality coach as well. But will the loss of Steve Kerr hurt this team as they go down the stretch?
I think it will affect them a little, but I think that they have the mentality to play for him, to give him since he can't be there for them, they're going to be there for him. And they're going to bring home the W.
Well, I'll tell you what, Warrior fans, good luck with that right now. Thank you. I see you in there, Cleveland in 6. That's what I'm thinking of myself. If LeBron plays at the level he's playing at right now, they say, I don't know what it is. Both of these teams are just quality teams. They know how to click the ignition when it's playoff time. Both of them have had their injuries this year. Both of them have rested players this year. But now we're seeing the best of both of these teams, and the way they played last week and the way they won their games, they were very effortless wins. Even though LeBron played most of the game, they could have probably set him in the third quarter and they still would have won the game. Same thing with Curry.
I don't know about that. Let's not get too out of hand. LeBron needs to be on the court.
Well, I think he needs to be on the court.
For the Cavaliers to win, LeBron needs to be on the court.
Well, I think not only does LeBron need to be on the court, but we got to have Kyrie putting in his work. Yeah. 20-10 game, and Kevin Love just has to grab 12 rebounds or more and put in about 15 points. And this Cavs team is probably hard to beat.
It is. Now think about this: if Steph Curry sits on the bench, you have Klay Thompson coming in. You have Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala. There's all these other players, just like the Cavs have, if their star player comes and sits on the bench, and um, they know how to play. They merge just like the Cavs do, and I think that's why
They're
both of
Power
them.
Rangers. They morphing.
Yeah, that's why both of them are still the top ones.
Well, guys, I tell you, you're listening to the Legends Community Show here on the Power of Voices. We're here every week talking a lot of football, talking a lot of basketball. You know, what are your feelings in terms of the quarterbacks? I want to ask that before we leave the air today. And Ram fans, if I didn't touch enough on the Rams, don't get upset at me. We got a lot of football to talk coming up this summer before the season starts in August. But I'm not happy with the draft. If y'all want to know my feelings about the Rams draft this past weekend, I'm not sold on any player that they picked. I was looking to get a traditional tight end who could actually help the run game more than just the passing game. I thought the kid out of Stanford would have been a better selection for us. Nothing against the kids that are there. I'm sure they're going to do their best to play the best that they can. Prove me wrong. I don't have any problem with being proved wrong. But I wasn't happy with the Rams going after the draft. I was a little bit very, very much excited about the Chargers selections. I think they did a great job this past year. And I'm actually happy with the Raiders. The Raiders knew they needed cornerback help, and they went out and used their selection to grit the positions of need. And so let's look for the Raiders to have a good season as they decide where they're going to play. I mean, you know what? I was thinking this, and I wish I could get to Mark and tell Mark to do this. Raider fans, that you're the probably second or the number one largest fan base in America. You got Green Bay that'll argue with you, the Cowboys will argue with you, and even the Steelers will argue who has the largest world base. But the Raiders, I really truly think that the Raiders should go on a road show. Forget playing in Oakland. They don't want you to play these next 2 years. So make every game an away game, but play them in cities that people can actually enjoy you. You can fill 120,000 in Tennessee. You could go and fill 105,000 in Michigan or Ohio State. I mean, I almost want to just say those 7, 8 home games that you have to have, just go play them in large cities and let the world enjoy the Los Angeles, the Oakland, and the Las Vegas Raiders. Because we're just going to give you all 3 names. It's just one of those things that we want to just let them have a whole mess of fun. What's this? We got the Bengals picking Mixon. People want to talk about that. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Mixon. We got about 5 minutes left. I got a question in here. Aaron wanted to talk about the Mixon signing. If you heard me last week, you know my feeling on Joe Mixon. A lot of people are down on this young man because of a mistake that he made at 17, 18 years old, guys. I've told my son a lot of times, you're going to make mistakes when you're that age. It should not cost you your life. The woman has sat down. They've made their amends. I think we as a public have to move on and allow him to grow as an individual. And he's going to be someone that's going to help advocate, domestic violence, keeping your hands off women. And just as importantly, guys, as I said it last week, women keeping their hands off of men. Why do we have to put our hands on anyone? Why do we have to have incidents in Boston like Adam Jones had this past weekend when he was being taunted with the N-word and all the other negative conversations that you could call an African-American player? Why did he have to do that in the city of Boston? Boston should be ashamed of himself. The fans in Boston should be ashamed of themselves. Those are things that should not happen. We're in 2017, and I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys. I was at the African American Smithsonian just 2 weeks ago. And I walked through that and I said to myself, why did this ever have to be? We're all one person, one people under God, and why we can't all just get along. I hate to use that phrase because, we just crossed the 25th anniversary of Rodney King. But why can't we us all get along? And to see what Adam Jones went through this past weekend, to see what Joe Mixon is going to go through for a few years. The city of Cincinnati has dealt with it in the past as well. I think Marvin is the right man to work with Joe. I think he's going to be able to sit down with a guy like Ray Rice and channel his anger or his frustration or that understanding it, you truly, truly have to think before you act. And I think my son knows well enough that he thinks before he strikes someone, and hopefully he's never had to strike anyone in his life, because that's not something that's needed in our society now. What was your feelings about Joe Mixon,
Joe Mixon.
the running back out of Oklahoma,
The
that hit the young lady and broke her jaw?
ruthless.
Yeah, it was ruthless.
I think obviously he was young. You definitely have to give him a second chance for him to better himself and prove the nation wrong that he is a man of a man. And he knows he knows rights from wrong and how to mature. So
Well, guys, I tell you what, we've had a fun with you.
one question I wanted to ask: what do you guys think of the Kansas City's pick, the quarterback? I don't know his name off the top, but he came out of Texas Tech. He's the
big strong arm kid.
Yeah. What do you think about him?
That was another reach. I mean, I didn't. There were no quarterbacks in this draft that were projected in the top 15, and I think that's exactly where they should have fallen, past the top 15. I think a lot of these teams could have picked them up a little later. You see where DeShone Kizer went in the second round.
Yeah.
I think DeShone Kizer has more upside than any of those kids, as well as Watson. I think he has just as much upside. The problem is when you get nervous, you go for it, and that's just what a lot of teams did, and that's truly what Andy Reid did. And I thought Andy, had a little bit more heart than that. But you know what, guys? We're running out of time. I thank you for joining us this week. This is Greg Bell.
LaShawn Bell, thank you for
This has been the
on.
Legends Community Show here on the powerofvoices.com. Of course, join me every Tuesday. We come to you live and in living color right here on the Power of Voices. Guys, you take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one, you guys. Thank you.